Township Pattern was formed in 1997. We are over 20 years now, and it's a woman-owned enterprise or a social impact enterprise. We work with women in the local communities in Cape Town between Khayelitsha and Manenberg. We have about 50 women who own their own co-ops, and Township assists them in terms of skills development and owning the equipment that they use. So as Township, we use eco-friendly fabric. Cotton is coming from either Zimbabwe or Madagascar, and then we also use recycled plastic bottle fabric, which is PET, that is sourced in South Africa. So our also main goal is also to empower our own community in terms of using African product and eco-friendly material as well.
Good morning, everybody. I think that, I was just watching that video, and to be honest, this is part and parcel of why I'm so excited to be part of the fair trade movement, because really and truly, you end up with products that not only are people-centered, they're also planet-centered. It's fulfilling the need that you got it for, whether it was, drinking some tea or having a cup of coffee or having that glass of wine. But here we can see where bags, just a regular carrier bag, can make such a big difference. And so we're going to continue to talk about this and the social impact that these transparent, accountable value chains and supply chains can have, especially in the communities where our producers or our artisans or our farmers are in. So we will talk a little bit about that today, and I'm so excited to have you all tuned in. My name is Wageshi Getata Kiriga, and I'm a senior advisor with Kijani Group. We're based here in Nairobi, Kenya, and I've been the host. I've had the privilege of being the host of these live sessions, and this is our fifth one. So our last one is actually going to be next week on Monday. So if you haven't had a chance to join us live, please go ahead and see those older videos, put in your comments, share it with your friends if you find something that resonates there with you. And really, but more than that, I'm going to ask everybody to do what we were challenged to do by one of our earlier guests on Monday, Rain Morgan, who reminded us that we can begin with our own circle. We can begin with trying to change the mind of whether it's just one person in our family or a friend or a colleague, somebody at church or any other social circle that you may have. If you can get them thinking about what is the story and who is behind the products that they're purchasing, then you've got them on the path towards sustainable consumption, the path towards really asking the questions about whether there has been a fair treatment, fair pricing, and fair trade in the things that they're buying. So not last week, it was just actually earlier this week, as Musa, who has also been my sort of co-host in these sessions. Musa is from WFTO, and she's going to talk to you a little bit, and I'll give her the space to introduce herself. As Musa said, we've had a lot of these sessions, but it wasn't last week. It was just on Wednesday. And on Wednesday, we had the pleasure of actually having a live session from Kazuri. I'm wearing those today, right? Kazuri is a ceramic bead factory here in Kenya. They do all sorts of things. They've been making beautiful jewelry for a very long time, and they have outlets across Kenya. They export quite a bit, actually. The bulk of their work is in export, but they have been really deliberate in trying to be a place of second chances, especially for single mothers. And we commend them for that. And we had the pleasure of having Tatiana Karanja over there at the Kazuri site to meet with the women who were making and painting these beads, because each and every one of them is actually hand painted. And to hear her experience as a mother, as a young consumer, as somebody who is just looking at how can we be responsible for what it is that we're putting out there. We also had the pleasure of being joined by Masimbo, who is a South African farmer, and his background is actually in mechanical engineering, but he's creating employment in agriculture. I mean, it just makes me so excited. And as one of our guests pointed out, his name is Joseph, and he was from Africa Monitor. And Africa Monitor actually works with the World Fair Trade Organization. And what they're doing is that they are looking at how we can have a collective move towards sustainable purchasing and sustainable trade. And he pointed out that Masimbonge was the only one who had made money that morning, because he had, he just joined the call after dropping off, like a cartload of spinach from his farm. So you see, so there are all these opportunities where we can be conscious with the choices that we're making. We can be more aware of the prices that are put on these different items, right? Yeah. Let's not take our bargaining only to the market. Yeah, we want to tell the lady who has beaded those Masai sandals that you're charging me too much, when she tells you that they're that the equivalent of $28, and yet if you went into a shop and you found them being sold for $40, or the equivalent of that in rand or Kenya shillings, you wouldn't bargain. You would just say, okay, here. And so we also need to ask ourselves, why do we want to squash the people who are the most vulnerable in that supply chain by pushing in and trying to say that we need to bargain in order to get things moving? So we had a really exciting conversation about that. And today I'm really so happy to have in the studio today 3 members of the World Fair Trade Organization family. Some who have been in there for such a long time. I see a familiar face in Martin Malila from Machakos Cooperative Union. Hello, Martin. How are you? We know each other because I used to work at Fairtrade for a long time, and that's Fairtrade International. And Martin's cooperative is actually a member of both. So they're a member of WFTO on the crafts and artisan side, and then they have Fairtrade certified coffee that they're producing. Not just for export as Green Bean, but they've taken that big leap and they are actually adding value at source. I love it. I love that, adding value at source. So because we started talking about you, Martin, you're going to be the first person to introduce yourself to all our guests today. Karibu sana, Mr. Malila. Go ahead.
Thank you, Wangeshi. And happy to see you and hear from you. My name is Martin Malila. The Chief Executive Officer of Machakos Cooperative Union, which is in Kenya, a secondary organization whose affiliates are cooperative societies with over 40,000 individual farmers who are in coffee. And as Wageshi put it, we started in handicraft, where we have our women groups who weave baskets. That is where we started with the fair trade. That time it was International Fair Trade Organization. But then later, we got more involved with our farmers because they have been producing coffee and they're having lots of challenges. But I'm happy there's some light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you, Martin. We're going to talk a little bit more about the social impact of being fair trade in the different cooperatives, especially in those primary cooperatives. And you're going to tell us a little bit more about how you're engaging, especially youth, women, persons with disability, and also access to some of these basics that we don't always receive from the infrastructure that we expect to receive from. But we're going to skip over to South Africa, and I'm going to have my co-host, Musa, introduce herself. Welcome, Musa.
I'm a regular here now. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I think it's morning everywhere still. My name is Musa Ofu, based in Johannesburg, South Africa. currently working on a domestic fair trade project, which looks to increase the footprint of fair trade in the global south. And we're starting with Kenya and South Africa, specifically Nairobi and Cape Town, where we're trying to familiarize the public with fair trade, so that when they hear fair trade, see fair trade, they start to know what it's about. They see the logo, they know what it stands for. They hear fair trade, they know the ethos behind it. So yeah, that's what the project is about. Let's talk about fair trade. Let's know what fair trade is, and then let's choose fair trade.
That's great. And we're going to skip back up this way, just so that everybody sort of moves up and down, right? And not just because of the way the pictures are appearing on the screen, but we're going to look at the geography of the continent and come back to Kenya. So Marsha, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to our audience and tell us about you and more, and also tell us a bit about Bombolulu.
My name is Amasha Kayoro from Bombolulu Workshops in Mombasa. Bombolulu Workshops is one of the programs of the Association for the Physically Disabled of Kenya, which has like 4 projects within Kenya. So Bombolulu deals with handicraft, where 90% of our staff are persons with disability. We have jewelry, leather, textile, and wood carving. Our biggest share is in the jewelry section, where we do a lot of export. In fact, 90% of all our jewelry is exported to all regions of the world. We've been in existence since 1969, but because of whatever is happening now, COVID, we're now trying to target the local, because the international market has proved to be a bit challenged. So we are really concentrating on bags and textile section, where we hope we'll be able to bridge the gap which has been brought about by COVID. I think we work with almost 60 persons with disability. They are engaged on permanent or contract basis, which is renewable. So some of them have been here for the past 30 years. And we're glad we've been able to make an impact, we're able to give them a salary so that they're able to live a decent life. Because most persons with disability are usually, in Africa, they're seen as a curse. So we want to give them the dignity of being alive. And that's a brief about Bombolulu Workshops.
Okay, good. We're going to continue having that conversation, especially when we talk about, what does access to markets mean for Bombolulu? And because you see, you need that continuous trade to continue to happen in order for the social impact that you're already generating to continue. And, there are all these different opportunities right now. We're all talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We heard from the Township Patterns video that they're actually already sourcing continentally for a lot of their fabric, and it's something that they've really been very deliberate about. And it's encouraging to hear that we do have this high potential and growing local and regional and continental market. And so that segues nicely into you, Morgan. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us give us your full name so that and say it properly, yeah, the way it's supposed to be said, and also tell us a little bit more about Township Patterns.
Okay. Good day. My name is Morgan Carriot. I'm from Township Patterns. So Township Patterns have been operating over the last 20 years, as you heard from the video. We basically help on setting up cooperatives in different township areas, and we provide them with work. We do the link to the market, but we also focus on really creating that network of cooperatives.
Okay.
Really.
And how many how many cooperatives are you currently working with?
So we have 6 cooperatives at the moment, which represent about 50 women. It's like groups between 6 to 11 people in general, and we really maintain that network. Do you hear me properly, or?
Yeah, I do, but I saw your face and I realized it's because it was a bit of an echo, and maybe that's why But we heard you. We heard you quite clearly. It's okay. Maybe I'm the one with the echo. Is it me? But
No, we
I don't have a comment from our technical team. So, but you're okay, Morgan. We heard you clearly. So here's this. I think that it's quite interesting how a lot of actually all our guests today work very closely with the cooperative movement. Globally, there are over 1 billion people, 1 billion with a B, who are members of a cooperative, right? And in Kenya, sometimes people don't think of the savings and credit cooperatives, which sometimes tend to be also a subset of even an existing co-op that does something else. But the idea of cooperation, of collaboration, actually sits quite nicely with the principles that fair trade has. So it's really good to see that this is the model that a lot of you have chosen to take, because even by its very formation, it starts to address this question of a social impact, doesn't it? So it would be really good to hear from your end, Marsha. How has being part and parcel of these transparent supply chains impacted the members that you have, impacted the artisans that you are training, that you have employed, that you buy from, that you source from? Could you tell us a little bit about that? And also, you can always illustrate that with a couple of examples.
We have much as possible to ensure that all our workers have work throughout the year. Of course,
Yes.
there are times you have to let go of some of them, but we keep a database of all persons with disability. Wherever you come here, you don't need to have gone to school to join Bombolulu workshops. As long as you have an artistic nature, you're able to come in and just get able to be employed. Our suppliers have mainly been organizations which can comply to the health and safety standards. That is why for our most popular material, which is brass, we have to import, because all our become very particular. So with nickel, cadmium, everything has to be clean for the environment. So as much as possible, we try whatever we can source locally, we do locally. But for jewelry, it's been a challenge because when we buy hooks from Nairobi, then they have nickel. Our staff who have been here have been able to, in fact, most of our workers are now grandmothers. They started working here, got married, and now their grandchildren are living here. So you're happy to have made them, they've been able to educate their children, and then we have give them decent housing. Most of them live within Bombolulu workshops. So as much as possible, we ensure that all our facilities are disability friendly, so that they're able to access all sections very well. So what we'd want to do again is to let them go after they get into, it's now 65 years, so that they get in other person's disability. In Kenya, it's been a challenge because the 5% rule the government introduced, but it is not being applied. So we want to reach out to many persons with disabilities that are able to make an impact in their lives. But we are again lobbying the Kenyan government. We started working with factories within Twapa and employing persons with disabilities. So we get them CVs from here, because again, we don't want our workers to stay here and not know what's going on up there. So we've been able to take like 5 persons with disability, and they've been employed in factories that make shoes, make sweets, as the CCTV controllers. So they were able to get there because again we have like the computer training. We had some training done here, and we encouraged our staff. It was being done for free, so that they're able to apply. We want them to, when they get out of there, they're better than when they came in here. So that is what we want. That is our social idea. When they get out of here, they have their families, they've been able to start their own businesses, and then they have decent accommodation.
Right. No, that's a really, I think it's also a very timely conversation. I follow very closely the work of CBM, which initially started out as being called Christian Blind Mission, but they work with persons with disability, both physical and also even within the mental health sector. They do quite a lot of work internationally and quite a bit here in Kenya. And it's been interesting to follow some of these conversations that have been happening, especially when we start to talk about building back better. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but hold the thought, Marsha, and let's bring in Martin Malila from Machakos Cooperative Union, and he can tell us, because Martin, that's a big number. 40,000 farmers is a big number, right? So do you happen to know how many of those are women or are youth? Tell us a little bit more about the makeup of MCU and what this has meant. What has this meant to be fair trade for the period that you've been, and how has that sort of shaped the kind of social impact you've been able to have within your members, but also even within Machakos itself?
How much time are you giving me?
That's a very good question. I like that. No. It's not a thesis. You have to give us snippets.
Okay, fine. So as I said, Machakos Cooperative Union is an umbrella organization.
Yes.
Whereby the members are cooperative societies together with women groups.
Okay.
And today, we have 26 women groups, purely women who are weaving baskets.
Yes.
And our connection with them is that we have been sourcing orders for them.
Yes.
They have been weaving the basket. We have assisted them with the planting sisal, that is the material.
Right.
So that when it comes to provision of material, they have the materials. It doesn't cost them a lot.
Right.
And that is the side of women, whereby we have also supported them with beehives to diversify.
Wonderful.
We have also supported them with the poultry so that they can try to diversify, because orders are not as much as they used to be those early days.
Yes.
So they have something to work on. We have also supported them with some goats. We have given just a portion of the women goats each to produce, so that once they produce, the goat will get the kid, we give to another lady growing like so. Then it reaches a point whereby the goat becomes yours and you continue multiplying them. That is also another activity that women are doing.
And are you sorry, but are you selling the goat milk, or is this or are these goats for meat? Because here we love our nyama choma. So is it that they're being fattened up for the livestock market, or are they dairy goats?
They are dairy goats. Just selling the milk locally. After consuming, you sell the rest. And that is only women in handicraft. We also have women in coffee. And one thing we started by sensitizing the women, educating the women to understand who they are. Because culturally, I don't know if it is in Kenya, households talk of land has been owned by the men.
Right.
So if a woman does and produces, all the proceeds go to the man.
Right.
And the woman is just like a worker in the home. So we have educated to an extent whereby they are even owning titles today.
Wonderful.
They do understand that they co-own the home together with the men.
Excellent.
When it comes to coffee, we have the cooperative societies which have been producing coffee, but also along the same, the men have been earning the income. Women have been toiling in the farm, doing all the work in the farm. But when it comes to the money is money to the man.
Right.
But we have been sensitizing with these women to show them that they have a right. So to support that, we have grouped the women into the portions in the cooperative society, whereby they own their own farms, they produce their own coffee, they deliver the coffee to the factories, and when the money comes back, it is in the name of the women, because women do a lot. So
That is
that's
so
the next.
exciting. I mean, I'm just so happy to hear that, Mr. Malila, because this is part of that impact. The fact that you are now a champion, you're what we call a he for she. And thank you so much for being part of this journey. We're going to continue. You're going to tell us a little bit more about what this has meant. We had the pleasure of having Jacinta with us in an earlier show last week, and she told us that you guys have this new exciting coffee that you're doing. You've even got new packaging, and I think you have 3 different lines. So perfect. Yeah, well done. You see, bring it a bit closer to the camera so that we can see. That's wonderful. Now, and you see, it's got all these certifications. It's done at source. The package is beautiful. It looks wonderful. We've put down here where all our listeners can be able to see a little bit more about Machakos Cooperative Union. I'm really hoping that at some point you'll be able to tell us that you're part and parcel of e-commerce. And even Morgan in South Africa can be able to buy some Machakos coffee straight from the source. So Morgan, tell us, and even Musa, please jump in and let us know a little bit about what you've been seeing when people have this conversation around a social impact. What are you hearing from them as their initial reaction? When you talk about social impact, what are they telling you, Musa? What are they saying is a thing that they're looking out for? How are they defining it? And even as you come to respond to that, I would really ask those who are tuning in with us this morning to let us know where they're tuning in from. We'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to know where these conversations are being heard. Let us know where you're tuning in from. But yes, Musa, please go ahead. Let me know what are people saying? How are they defining this? And even you, tell me what your opinion is when you talk about social impact.
Okay, so I'm very happy to hear about the work that's being done at Machakos, and the shift in realizing the impact that women have. And right now everyone in the world is focusing on women empowerment, and that's a good thing, because for the longest time women have been looked at as just the workers, and not really the owners of the work that they do and deserving the money which they would have labored for. And so for us to start to reshape that and realize that actually when we empower a woman, we are empowering a community. We're empowering more than just her, but a number of other lives that live around her. So I'm very encouraged by the work that's being done at Machakos. And well, in South Africa, women empowerment is a very big thing. We have a lot of women-based organizations where we try and where all these organizations try and equip the women to be more, how can I put it, to have a sense of ownership of in what they're doing, and to have the ability to see the end goal, if I could put it that way, and not really just see themselves as a labor, because it's a socialization thing. If we come to think about it, we've been socialized for the longest time to believe that we are just workers and not really the owners of the work that we do. So when you hear women stand up and say, I own this cooperative, or I run this, or I do this, that ownership is a big thing.
Absolutely.
And I feel like where we can have more organizations with women who are able to boldly stand up and say what it is that they do and own it, take ownership of it. That is a great thing to do. So yeah, social impact. Social impact, though, is not really only about women empowerment. With fair trade, a social impact on making sure that there is no child labor in the work that is done.
Right.
children are given the opportunity to learn, given the opportunity to play, the right to play and be educated is very important within the fair trade circles. Social impact also would deal with upskilling of workers, because once you skill a person to be able, or capacitate a person to be able to do their job well, then they are better at what they do. They love what they do. They can own what they do. So yeah, it's a huge thing. I think as organizations, we need to get to a place, or as businesses, you need to get to a place where you see a person more than just a laborer in the organization, but a person as a whole human being who needs to develop, not just for this organization, but as a human being to be able to impact another person. So yeah.
I mean, I find myself quoting Winnie Byanyima again, but she's excellent. I'm a big fan. Shout out to Winnie Byanyima if you're out there. She's head of UNAIDS. But one of the things that she said when she used to be head of Oxfam was really around the fact that it's what you said, Musa, that people are not units of productivity. They are people first, right? And really and truly, that's the thing that I'm hearing that is resonating from even the work that Bombolulu is doing. You're saying that, people have been with you, for so many years, Masha, decades, right? But they're coming in, and as you said, what you want to see, especially for your artisans, is that when you leave this place, that you leave better. That when you're with Bombolulu, that you are being upskilled in so many different ways, that you're being empowered to be able to earn a decent livelihood. And that is not just within Bombolulu itself, but in the event that you decide you're going to seek employment elsewhere, you're going with a skill set that allows you to be able to do that. And also with the confidence, because remember, you're the one who's been putting, food on the table for your family. Despite your physical disability, it has not stopped your creativity. And within Bombolulu, you're given that space to shine. And really kudos to you, Marsha, and the team at Bombolulu for what it is that you're continuing to do. But Morgan, I'm going to just jump into you so that you can tell us a little bit about how Township is working with these different co-ops. And I think we have a little clip that we're going to play after you tell us about how you're sourcing from these co-ops and actually also why you decided to have this sort of route where the women are organized into cooperatives. Tell us a little bit more about the thinking behind that.
Okay, so I like what we said. I think just going back on the impact and what the main impact is really giving back or giving the dignity to people, giving them the freedom to speak out, to own their own business, to it's not just having a higher income. I think fair trade, the main impact that it has on the community is really giving that dignity. Coming on the woman empowerment, I believe that women are already empowered. I'm not empowering anyone, or we're not empowering anyone. When they come and knock at the door and say, we would like to work with Township, because some of them was like this, we started from scratch, but for some of them, they were like, okay, we would love to work with you. Do you have work with us? They are empowered. We're just enabling and just helping for them to really feel confident and give that dignity between the higher income that enable you to put food on the table, but also to grow your business, between the fact that you own it, that you put your own rules in place, that it's your own business. And that's a big deal for the cooperative we work with. When I would ask them, okay, what is the benefits for you from working in the cooperative? And she said, I spoke to one of them, which is a charity, to say that us, as Black ladies, we step for ourselves and we make it happen for ourselves. And we did it. She said, even if it fails, it worked. I did it, it worked. And it's a support. I think the impact on the communities is huge. It's like, because then we're not just giving capacity building. Okay, we might help them to give the skill, but they learn from each other so much. And that skill gets transmitted between the members. Or even we have a cooperative here with Shaida that you mentioned, that we're going to show the video of. She's training other people that knock at her door and say, "Hi, I'm desperate. I'm looking. I would love to learn how to sew." She said, "Okay, come, sit down." And she trained a few, and now they're working in factories, or some might just run their own, or others says, "You know what? I've worked with that cooperative, but I want to start my own now." And that has happened for a few of them. And it's
That's
getting
amazing.
that pride, feeling that they can, you know, if we have argument even between them, they now get organized. How do we address issues, making sure that we have a sustainable business that works? And when there's too much conflict, we know that then it's a big problem in a co-op. So sometimes we get in, but most of the time they sort their issues, and it's a big support. It's also, I think, a place where it's a refuge for them. For a lot of the women in the communities, they go through a very difficult everyday life, and getting to that core is a place where you can zone out. You can just get to a place and you work with other women and you chat about other things, and you have something to do and bring money on at home also. So when also when Marcia,
sorry, go ahead, Morgan.
Marcia was speaking about how they empower the disabled. It's also for those people that sometimes are left aside from society. They feel like they can't get a job because they might be sick, they might need to look after their kids every day. So that cooperative model that we set up are close to their home, where maybe, and they, as I said, they run their own rules. So they might say, you know, we can accommodate for that member to go to hospital once a week, which if you have a job, it's going to be really difficult for you to have that.
Right. And it's and you know, it really does speak to this idea of actually people-centered leadership. We've been talking about building back better, right? And you know, how do we? And it's in decisions like that where you accommodate, where you include, where you take into consideration the challenges that the next person is having, but looking at that challenge not as something that can't be overcome or that's something that is hindering productivity, but that's something that can be solved if it is solved collectively. And you know, before we continue this conversation, I'm just going to ask that we play the video, really that just speaks to what we were talking about. You know, how these women are so, you know, they're just so empowered by being business owners, by being cooperative members. So let's cue the video and watch that one.
My name is Shaida Kasim. I'm staying in Menenberg, working for New Hope, and I'm here 4 years now. Okay, when I started New Hope, I was working for a previous co-op. Then I decided that I want to open New Hope. Okay, the difference between township and the factory is where you work in the factory, you're working for the boss. And for working for township is to be an independent co-op and to see that you can work for yourself. Yes, I do create more jobs in the community, and if there is enough equipment I have and there is enough work, yes, I will give some work for the community.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is that's brilliant. That's really what we're talking about. It's what Martin talked about when he was saying that you know, you have all these women who are, you know, who are again are part. They're at the table. We always talk about, you know, leaning in and being part of the discussion. But how do we create those spaces that allow for that to happen? And when we go back to the very first conversation around fair trade principles, this is really and truly one of them. This idea of inclusivity, but also this piece where trade is also transparent, and where trade is looking at a balance between not just profitability, but the people who are involved in it, right? And the communities in which they're coming from, but also looking at how all of this then impacts the planet. We had a whole thing that we were doing where we were asking people to list the principles of fair trade, and in fact, I think we had a winner who gave us about maybe 7 principles of fair trade, and they got a free gift from one of our WFTO members here in Kenya called Undugu Fair Trade Shops. And so I'm hoping that that's on the way to our winner. We then put in another challenge, and I don't know where we are with that one, where we were saying, we want people to take pictures with your fair trade products and tag us and tag us on our different social media streams, whether it's, Instagram or it's Facebook or it's Twitter, take a picture and tag WFTO Africa Middle East and let us know that you are going out there and you're being deliberate and that you're choosing fair prices, that you're choosing fair trade, you're choosing fair treatment. Because as consumers, it's a powerful, powerful group. As consumers, you're the ones who drive business in certain directions because you give these signals, right? These buying signals are major. I mean, nowadays we've got data that's analyzing all of this stuff, right? And the reason why it's become such a big industry is exactly because of that. Because you send certain signals as a consumer, and what we're asking you to do, when we're challenging all of you to do, is to send that signal that you care about the person, the story that is behind that brand, that is behind that product, and that you're thinking about the community, you're thinking about also the planet. Because, let's be honest, when we were all quarantined at home, part and parcel of why it was happening is because we have been putting profit way above the other 2 P's, and as we think about how we're going to be building back better, then let's go ahead and see that. I don't have any comments from anyone telling me where they're tuning in from. So we would really love to hear your thoughts about the different places where you're listening in from. We've had people dialing in from Kenya. We've had people dialing in from South Africa, from Sweden, from the UK. We've had, I think, a couple of people from Belgium. And but we don't know where our listeners are today, so it would be good. Tell us in your comments. We always want to hear from you. We still go back to that challenge of take a picture with a fair trade product, because, by the way, there is Machakos coffee to be won. I don't know if you knew this, Mr. Malila, but Jacinta did give us some coffee. So there's coffee to be won, and it's excellent coffee. It's being roasted at Source, and on that note, let's see that. Yeah, see that one, and let's see that Machakos video. Let's see this Machakos video.
Majina naitwa John Simbuli. Nimefanya hii ukulima kwa miaka 20 na hii kampuni imenisaidia sana, na nashukuru kwa hii kampuni kwa vile imenifanya hata nimeinuka kwa mambo mingi. Hii factory ya Mukuyuni imenisaidia, ikiwa nahitaji pesa wakinipatia, naweza enda nilimishe mashamba yangu, na hata ikiwa nilikuwa nimelemewa na school fees na naenda nalipa. Mtoto wa kwanza nimesomesha mpaka university. Mtoto wa kwanza, na iko mwingine amemaliza form 4, mwingine form 4 akamaliza, na ule wa last born saa hii anamaliza college ya walimu.
Wow. I mean, look at
You
that.
know what I'm working.
Sheila. Wait, you know, it's like how many SDGs have been talked about in that particular clip, right?
A lot.
A lot. And when we talk about impact, this is it. You know, it's as if the SDGs were taking fair trade principles and then repackaging them into global goals. Because
Yeah.
to be honest, it has been happening. It's been happening. And you guys have all been part and parcel of that contribution. So, you know, kudos. Anyway, Musa, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
I was going to say, you know, there's something very interesting that Morgan said that I remembered when I worked for a fair trade
And just on the
organization.
same note, Empower.
Is Martin saying something?
I don't
Yes,
know.
I was
Martin,
saying
were you
to get fair prices. Hello?
Oh, your sound is not your video is okay, but your sound is a bit
Not
delayed.
coming. Oh
Okay,
yes,
now
I
say it
was
again.
I was talking about the fair prices, which is part of the fair trade principles. To come to fair prices, like when we talk on the coffee is an intensive crop. It starts all the way from production, processing, marketing, until prices, payments come. And we have been lobbying to see how we can bridge the gap, because the gap between the producer and the consumer has been quite low.
It's been very big, yes.
So that the producer can reach.
Oh, Martin, what did you move? The signal was so clear before, and now you're breaking up.
I don't know what is in the.
You know, you're. Uh-oh. All right, let's try and sort that out. Or maybe if you put it in if you can type it in the chat, then we can also read it out. Sorry, Musa, please go ahead. You were saying about something that Morgan said that made you think of something. Go ahead and tell us.
I was saying earlier that there's something that Morgan said that really flicked a switch for me about the social impact. You know, men or women, there's always a need to have a space where you can talk about your issues and have other people who are probably going through the same issues give you feedback about how they dealt with those issues. And I found that in a number of these fair trade organizations or the co-ops or whatever, this creates that space where women or men come together, and as they do this work, they talk about their issues, what they're going through, this is going on with my child, this is going on with my neighbor's child or whatever. And what I found interesting in the fair trade organization that I worked at is then management would hear about it and then try and bring in, whether it's a lawyer or a social worker or whatever, to come and talk about or give ideas or what's the right word? Information.
Even just information, right?
On how best to deal with these issues. Your child is abusing drugs, abusing alcohol, or what. These are social issues, and you need to have a space where you can then just say, okay, so when I go to work, I get to have access to this information. I get to know how to deal with rape. I get to know how to deal with drugs, drug abuse. I get to know how to deal with, I don't know, whatever issues are going on out there. And I feel like it's a necessary part. Like you said, let's talk about the people aspect. Let's make these people whole. Let's make these people complete. Let's try and equip these people so that they're not just sitting here as zombies producing and pumping out products, but they are here and they feel like, when I walk out of this place, I have more information. I have more knowledge on how to deal with this issue that I'm dealing with. So I just want to give kudos to those organizations that do that look at the people aspect and equip and give information, train, capacitate the people, the person. Because if the person is whole, then they're able to do better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I'm just going to jump back to Marsha, and just ask her a little bit about that. How you did say something in your opening statement about the fact that especially across the continent, people still view disability as if it were a curse, and they look at this as if they look at this child who has come into this world with a physical disability, and they shun them. Very often these children are abandoned, but it's really, really actually very powerful to hear that you've got all these artisans, these people with this creativity and this art within them, who are then given the tools to share that talent with the world. Could you tell us a little bit more about, like, where are you selling all this beautiful jewelry and carvings? Which countries are you selling this to? And while you're talking about that, tell us a little bit more about the fact that you are now even looking at the local market. I was telling the other guys in the studio that. My family knows that I love fair trade stuff. So I worked within fair trade for a long time. And so they always try to get me fair trade things. So one of the ones that I have is this very beautiful mirror that has a lot of beadwork, around the edges, and then the back is leather, and it's gorgeous. And it was from the Adaptec Fair Trade shop here in Nairobi, off of Wayaki Way, next to Safaricom House. So we do have a local market. Let's talk about where all of this wonderful stuff has been sent to, and also what your thoughts are around how to grow this fair trade market locally, and not just with government, because it seems that the 1/3 rule may or may not benefit those that you're currently working with.
I just need to mention that UK, we also take care of children who've been abandoned. Like we have the community-based rehabilitation people, they walk around in communities, and they've been able to identify many children who've been neglected because of their disability. They come in here, they get some therapy done, and then we try to put them into homes who accept persons with disability. Because we work with adults, what we want, kwanza, we pay our staff on piecework. So the more you work, the more you earn. And you can earn as much as 60,000, and it will all be given to you. Our target markets are basically in the US, Japan. UK is our largest market. And they give us orders worth almost 20 million per year. That is the UK only. They've been able to increase their orders because of the commitment they have with us. They really have to do a lot of awareness out there so that they're able to increase the product of Bombolulu workshops. And that has actually helped us to grow and also to increase more facilities. Unfortunately, the challenge of going international is that there's a lot of quality feedback. Sometimes you're forced to mechanize our processes so that you're able to meet the standards required out there. And then that means that we have to relocate our staff and find something for them to do. The hardest group to rehabilitate has been the persons who are visually impaired, because they have more challenges. So we usually link them up with the Vision for the Blind, other networks where they can fit very well. Because in Bombolulu, currently only have 2 visually impaired persons, one in the packaging department, and then the other one does some plating work. But we would love to have them be integrated somewhere else. That is why, as Bombolulu, we really have to work with other partners who share the same vision like we do. Because at times we're not able to, when we have less orders, then we're not able to accommodate as much as we can. So we are looking for partners, and we're also lobbying the government, but we're also requesting our staff to network with other groups, because nowadays we have so many groups to fund persons with disability. So whenever they come to us, tell us that they want to do some particular training, we're able to give them time off to do whatever they want to do. Then we want them to get out of here. At one time, we'd want all of them to have left and given the opportunity to other people. Because of the changing dynamics internationally, handicraft market has really shrunk. So we want to make them diverse into other things which will be able to give them opportunities, better opportunities for the future. Let me just say our staff, I can't get anyone here right now.
Okay.
They really appreciate that they're able to get some money at the end of the month. Not so regular as before, but they've been able to think ahead now. Our
Yeah.
cooperative society, that is what has been the biggest help to them, because we encourage them to say, give you money, but you must save. You must stay for the future. So we try and do even some basic business skills, so that they're able to live. Bombolulu is not like the end of the world, and they do not have to be here. We want them to be integrated. Kenya is not an inclusive society, so we don't have to follow the persons with disability only here. We encourage them to go out, because that is the only way other persons with disability will see someone has actually made an impact. When we have someone from Bombolulu who is able to shine there,
Right.
that gives our staff the encouragement that it is all not lost.
You
Despite the
know,
fact that
it's sorry, Masha. Yes, you're right. But you were talking about the fact that the handicraft market has been shrinking. But I also think that I mean, I've had the pleasure of visiting very many different African countries, and the Maasai sandal is iconic. It is everywhere, whether it is in duty-free shops or whether it is in other markets or whether it's in tourist hubs. The Maasai sandal is everywhere. And by the way, Musa, we can tell the difference between the Kenyan style and the South African style, because the Kenyan style of maybe the color choices or the beading design is what makes it different. Like you know that you can see something and okay, this is from the southern end, this one is from the east, right? But the reason I'm bringing this up is because let's stop thinking that things are shrinking, right? African trade right now is at about 11% only. When you look at the fact that you have the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, it's about to become the biggest trading bloc in the world. We have the youngest population, which means we have the opportunity to ride this wave of growth like no other continent has been able to do so in the past. So, Masha, think continental. Forget about Europe for now. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for all the support that's been there. We really, truly appreciate it. But it's fine if artifacts are shrinking there because they're not here, right? So how exciting would that be to be able to say these are artifacts from, from Eastern Africa, and you're finding them in West Africa, you're finding them in South Africa, you're finding them in North Africa. And even here in Kenya, we're seeing all of this cross collaboration because we're finding, our fabrics that are coming from West Africa being sold here. We're finding our art that is, produced here being sold in West Africa. West African art is being sold here in East Africa. So let us start to think, really, how can we grow this market? How can we grow this market in Kenya? How can we grow this market in South Africa? How do we jump on this Africa Continental Free Trade Area and make it work? Mr. Malila, we need to have that Machakos coffee being sold in Ghana, in Nigeria. They drink a lot of coffee in Senegal. We want it there. That discussions that we need to have, especially because we know that it has been ethically sourced. It has been ethically produced. It has been done with an eye on the environment, with a very, very people-centered approach and with these transparent value chains. I mean, Morgan, you guys are already doing that. You're sourcing in fabric from the neighboring countries. You're even doing PET recycling. We're starting to see that. So now let's have those event bags being sold all over. In Kenya, we have a ban on plastics. And so, if we can have those carrier bags, the orders are always being put in. So let's have a bit more of that taking place. Let's really start to think of what's the impact of what it is that we're doing, even as we look at new markets. Because remember, part of this is around the trade aspect of things. It's the trade aspect of things that's allowing this to continue to provide these dignified livelihoods for all the people who are involved. So let's look at trade, but let's look at trade not too far from us. I'm looking at our time, and I'm sorry, I think I got a little carried away there, so please forgive me. But let's do this. Let's continue to talk about collaboration. right? Let's see how these bridges can be built. I have a friend of mine called Linda Murithi, who does something called Into the Core. And she's been having these amazing conversations around creativity and art and looking at cross-cultural, cross-continental collaboration. And that's really and truly what we should be looking at, even as we talk about fair trade, as we talk about the social impact. Let that impact be because we are looking at collaboration right here, next door. The collaboration doesn't have to come from so far away. We're not refusing the far away, it's good. But let us not think that that is where it ends. So let's have our parting shots. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Malila. Please go ahead and give us your parting shots for our listeners today and the people who will view later on today. Give us your parting shot from you.
You're mute. You
need to unmute yourself. I still can't hear you. No.
You can hear me?
Now, yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, what I'm putting across is that we need to think of a south-to-south business, such that we don't just rely on the south to north, whereby the market we say has been shrinking, so that we can empower our people. What we are doing with the coffee is that we want to do a lot of domestic consumption so that our farmers can consume coffee. They have been producing coffee, but they drink tea. So we are urging them through this coming up with the roasting and the packaging that they consume more of their products, and by so doing, the market will also be enlarging. We intend to move out of Kenya, possibly in Africa, to ensure that our people are empowered through more marketing of their products. Let's try as much as we can to empower our people, and that will be a better way of reducing poverty, if not eradicating.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to ask Marsha to go ahead and give us her parting shot.
A very brief sentence. Let us take advantage of the social media, and if we do that, we'll be able to, in fact, increase our sales and be visible internationally and also locally.
Fantastic. And we have a comment here from Trading for Development. And thank you again for joining us. You've been such a faithful listener and commentator. We really appreciate that. So Trading for Development saying that I would like to propose also to help people of the North understand more about the craftsmanship from Africa too. And, that's a good point. I was reading an article about art, right? Who sort of decides what art is? Who decides what art is valuable over another type of art? So that there's that appreciation of the individuality of every piece, and yes, that's certainly taken into consideration. Marsha, you've heard that. Mr. Malila, you've heard that. For your artisans, but I like what you said about let's use the means that are available, especially social media, which has proven to be something so powerful. Morgan, what's your parting shot? Can you hear us, Morgan? I think she's frozen. Oops. While she unfreezes, Musa, what's your parting shot?
My parting shot would be for organizations we're talking about social impact, for organizations to consider the people aspect of the profit and the planet. Let's look at the people within our organizations. Let's uplift them, upskill them, listen to them, hear what they're going through. And if as an organization we are able to assist, to impact, to better a situation, then let's try and do that so that these people make a greater impact in the society that they live in.
Absolutely. Morgan, are you back? Are you able to give us your parting shot? Yes, good. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So to me, I would say I'm hoping that basically with the COVID, we have that mind shift of buying local and we're supporting each other better. And the second thing is also just to speak about the guys that's actually doing well and with WFTO, maybe through the memberships and so on, but really focusing and finding all those people that are doing well and making more noise about the good work that they're doing.
Absolutely. So thank you everybody for today. I think this was such an enriching conversation. It was also really encouraging and just powerful to have, all these different perspectives. And for everybody who's listening in and who might listen to the recording later on, to understand the work that you're all doing within your communities. And we're going to finish it off with reminding everybody, just as Musa has told us, to remember to keep in mind the people in whatever supply chain we're involved in. And how we can know that the people have been considered is by, again, looking at local sourcing, looking at the ones who have declared that what they've been doing is something that is open, transparent, and inclusive. And those are the ones that have there's so many different types of, sustainability and ethical trading labels that are out there. And let's not forget that you've got the Fair Trade one, you've got Marine Stewardship Council, the Forest Stewardship Council, you've got WFTO, all of these different ones. They may be different labels, but we are all part of the same common good, where we're really trying to say, let us make those buying decisions, send those signals that people matter. It's not just the product, but it's also the people who are within and behind that product that matter as well to all of us as consumers. So thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be back live for our last session on Monday, the 12th of October at 11 o'clock. And let's have that last video and enjoy your weekend and buy fair.
My name is Wycliffe Mutuku.
Chadra Kalzeki.
My name is Josephat Ngenja.
John Mutua.
Jacinta Nduku. Kwa majina naitwa Hana Mwaka.
Josephat Zeki.
Monica Mudeu.
My name is Ruth and I choose fair trade.
I've choose fair trade.
I 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 choose fair trade.
My name is Shaida. I choose fair trade.
I choose fair trade. I choose fair trade.
I choose fair trade.
I choose fair trade.
We are New Hope Cooperative and we choose fair trade.